There's something mysterious about the INFJ personality. They're quiet, deep thinkers and often misunderstood by most people around them. On the outside, they seem calm, kind and always ready to help. But underneath that gentle surface, there's a complex mind full of intense emotions, deep thoughts, and behaviors they don't always realize they're doing. This video will explore 6 chilling things the INFJ does without even knowing it. These aren't creepy in a horror movie way, but they are behaviors that can shock or surprise others, and even scare the INFJ themselves when they finally notice. The INFJ is one of the rarest personality types in the Myers-Briggs system. They're introverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging. That means they spend a lot of time inside their own head, trusting their gut feelings, and making decisions based on values and emotion. But it also means they often hide their struggles, ignore their own needs, and get lost in thoughts so deep they forget to come back up. Because INFJs are so inward-focused, they often act without realizing how their behavior looks on the outside. They might hurt people without meaning to. They might push people away to protect themselves. They might do things that don't make sense, even to them. And since they don't like to talk openly about their pain, others might never know what's going on under the surface. The 6 behaviors we'll talk about today are based on real patterns INFJs have shown again and again. These things come from their unique mix of emotional depth, intuitive thinking, and hidden stress. Whether you are an INFJ or know someone who is, you'll want to pay attention. By the end of this video, you might see the INFJ in a whole new way. They're not just quiet or nice. They're full of strong forces working under the surface, some of which even they don't notice until it's too late. Let's look at the first thing the INFJ does without realizing. Thing number 1. They abruptly shut people out. Door slam. One of the most chilling things the INFJ does, without realizing, is suddenly cutting someone out of their life. This is often called the INFJ door slam. It's when an INFJ decides, often without warning, to completely end a connection with someone, even someone they cared about deeply. From the outside, it looks cold and even cruel. One day, the INFJ is close to you, talking regularly, offering emotional support. The next, it's like you no longer exist to them. Messages go unanswered. Plans get ignored. It's like they slammed a door shut and they don't open it again. But here's the chilling part. They often don't fully realize they're doing it until after it's already done. INFJs spend a lot of time holding in their feelings. They give second chances. They try to be understanding. But all of that builds up over time. When someone hurts them again and again, or when they feel emotionally drained by a relationship, they reach a breaking point. That breaking point usually doesn't come with a big fight or dramatic goodbye. It comes quietly. The INFJ just decides they can't take it anymore. And instead of explaining, they disappear. They protect themselves by walking away completely, sometimes without warning the other person or even themselves. This behavior can feel shocking to people who know the INFJ as caring and loyal. It's hard to believe that someone so gentle could just shut you out. But to the INFJ, it doesn't feel sudden. It's the result of many emotional cuts that added up over time. What makes it even more unsettling is how final it often is. Once an INFJ has closed that emotional door, they rarely reopen it. They have made peace with the decision in their mind, even if they never talked about it out loud. Why don't they explain? Usually because they don't see the point. INFJs often feel like others don't really listen to them. So when they finally give up on a connection, they do it quietly, believing there's no use in trying to explain something the other person won't understand anyway. This kind of emotional cutoff isn't always fair, and INFJs don't always mean to hurt anyone. In fact, they often carry guilt about doing it. But in their eyes, it's a way to protect their mental health. It's how they survive emotional burnout. The door slam might not involve yelling or fighting, but it's one of the most powerful and chilling things the INFJ does, because once that door closes, it rarely opens again. Thing number 2, they manipulate others, but for their own good. The INFJ is often seen as kind and honest, but there's a side to them that's more complex and even a little unsettling. Without realizing it, INFJs can sometimes manipulate the people around them. What makes it chilling is that they often believe they're doing it for the right reasons. INFJs are strong intuitive thinkers. They're always reading between the lines, picking up on hidden emotions and motives. This makes them good at understanding what people want or need, even before the person says it. But it also means they can shape conversations, ideas, or situations in subtle ways to get a certain outcome. For example, instead of directly telling someone what to do, an INFJ might guide the person to come to the right decision on their own. They might ask leading questions, share certain emotional stories, or present information in a way that changes how the other person sees a problem. To the INFJ, it's helpful. To others, it can feel like being steered without knowing it. Why do INFJs do this? Usually because they care. They want to protect people from bad choices, or push them toward growth. But they often don't see how much control they actually have in the moment. Their influence can be quiet but strong. And the more they care about someone, the more they want to guide them, sometimes without asking if the person even wants that guidance. This behavior isn't always negative. In fact, it's often driven by compassion. But it becomes a problem when the INFJ doesn't realize they're crossing a line. They believe they're being supportive, but to others, it can feel like emotional pressure or quiet control. The most chilling part is that INFJs usually don't see it as manipulation. Because their goal isn't to hurt or use people, they don't always notice how much they're bending a situation to fit their vision. They believe they're helping, not interfering. In relationships, this can lead to problems. A friend or partner might feel like they're being subtly pushed in a direction they didn't choose. Over time, this can lead to resentment, even if the INFJ meant well the whole time. It's important to understand that this kind of manipulation isn't done out of malice. It's unconscious. INFJs often act based on deep emotional instincts, not careful planning. But the results can still leave people feeling confused or uneasy. To the INFJ, guiding someone toward what they believe is a better path feels like love. But without open communication, it can come off as control. This quiet power, done in the name of care, is one of the more chilling things the INFJ does, because they rarely see it as wrong. Thing number 3, they overwhelm themselves with all or nothing. Intensity. INFJs are known for their intensity, especially when it comes to their passions, relationships, or beliefs. When they care about something, they go all in. There's no halfway. It's either full focus or complete distance. While this can be inspiring, it's also one of the more chilling things they do without realizing, because it often leads to burnout, self-isolation, or sudden disconnection. This all-or-nothing mindset shows up in many areas of their life. If an INFJ starts a project, they will pour their whole heart into it. If they fall in love, they feel everything deeply. If they believe in a cause, they may rearrange their life around it. But the problem is, they don't always see when they're pushing themselves too hard or expecting too much from others. This intensity doesn't just affect the INFJ. It also impacts the people around them. A friend may be drawn in by the INFJ's passion and emotional depth, only to feel confused when the INFJ suddenly pulls away. A coworker may admire the INFJ's dedication, but also worry about how much pressure they put on themselves. The chilling part is how easily this pattern can flip. One day, the INFJ is completely involved and emotionally invested. The next, they have disappeared. They're exhausted, disillusioned, or emotionally numb. It can feel sudden, but in the INFJ's mind, it's the result of being stretched too far for too long. Why don't they pace themselves? Often because they don't notice it happening. INFJs get caught in their vision of how things should be. They chase that vision with everything they have. But when reality doesn't match up, or when others don't share the same passion, they crash. Hard. This cycle of full engagement followed by complete withdrawal can leave others feeling abandoned or confused. The INFJ may not mean to disappear or shut down, but once they've hit their emotional limit, they don't always know how to stay connected. The behavior isn't about drama or attention. It's about how the INFJ processes the world. Their emotions are deep and powerful. Their ideas are often idealistic. And when those things don't match the real world, it's painful. Their reaction is to retreat and recover alone. The worst part is that INFJs often blame themselves. They may feel like they failed, or that they're too sensitive for the world. They don't always realize this pattern is something they repeat again and again. The all-or-nothing intensity of the INFJ might not seem dangerous at first. But over time, it wears them down, affects their relationships, and leads to isolation. It's a hidden cycle, and one that even they may not fully understand until it's already done damage. Thing number 4. They fall into a grip state, behaving impulsively. INFJs usually come across as calm, thoughtful, and in control. They like to plan things, reflect before acting, and avoid chaos. But when they're under a lot of stress, something strange happens. They can flip into a totally different mode, one where they act on impulse, chase short-term pleasure, and even take reckless risks. This is called a grip state, and it's one of the most chilling things the INFJ does without realizing. In psychology, each personality type has an inferior function. For INFJs, that function is called extroverted sensing, or C. It deals with reacting to the world through physical experiences like sights, sounds, sensations, and action. INFJs don't usually lead with this function. But under stress, especially when they feel emotionally trapped, it can take over. This is when things get strange. The normally quiet and thoughtful INFJ might suddenly binge eat, spend too much money, drive too fast, or get lost in endless distractions. They're not thinking clearly. They're reacting. It's like they've lost touch with their usual self. This behavior can seem shocking to others. Friends and family might not understand where it's coming from. They might say, "This isn't like you," and they'd be right. It's not. But for the INFJ, it feels like the only way to escape emotional pressure they can't explain. The grip state isn't just random stress. It's the result of ignoring their needs for too long. INFJs tend to put others first, carry emotional burdens, and keep their pain hidden. Eventually, all of that builds up. When it does, their mind stops trying to process things deeply and just wants a break. That's when say takes over, and the INFJ acts out. What's chilling is that the INFJ often doesn't remember or understand what happened until it's over. They may feel ashamed or confused. Why did I do that? That's not me. But in the moment, their brain was trying to protect them in the only way it knew how, by chasing stimulation to drown out emotional overload. This impulsive behavior might not seem serious at first, but over time, it can damage relationships, health, or self-esteem. And because it happens so rarely, INFJs might not learn how to spot the signs until it's too late. To someone on the outside, it looks like the INFJ just snapped. But really, it's been building for a long time. That sudden flip into sensory overload is one of the most unsettling parts of the INFJ's inner world, because even they don't see it coming. Thing number 5, they critique themselves silently. Critical parent. On the outside, INFJs often look like they have things together. They seem calm, capable, and thoughtful. But inside, many INFJs live with a voice that never shuts off. It tells them they're not doing enough, that they're not good enough, that they should have done better. This silent self-criticism is constant, and it's one of the more chilling things they experience without even realizing how harsh it is. Psychologists sometimes refer to this voice as the critical parent. It comes from deep within the INFJ's mind, usually tied to their shadow functions. Specifically, the function known as introverted feeling can take on this role, acting like a strict internal judge. Even when no one around them is criticizing them, the INFJ is criticizing themselves. The silent pressure shows up in everyday life. An INFJ might replay a conversation over and over, thinking of what they should have said. They might beat themselves up for not being more productive, even when they're exhausted. They hold themselves to incredibly high standards, but they don't always show that to others. The chilling part is how invisible it is. Friends and family may see the INFJ as peaceful or confident, but behind closed doors, they're often struggling with thoughts that tear them down. And because INFJs are private by nature, they rarely talk about this inner voice. They just carry it alone. This inner critic doesn't just affect how INFJs see themselves. It also shapes their decisions. They may avoid new opportunities because they don't think they're ready. They might stay silent in group settings because they fear saying something wrong. They might take on too much responsibility because they feel like it's their job to fix things. What makes this behavior so chilling is how normal it feels to the INFJ. They don't always realize how toxic that voice has become. To them, it's just trying to do better, but over time, it wears them down. It feeds anxiety, depression, and low self-worth. Many INFJs grew up feeling different, misunderstood, or too sensitive. That experience can make them question their worth. Instead of standing up for themselves, they learn to blend in, to please others, and to avoid causing trouble. That mindset becomes the root of their inner critic. This self-judgment can be hard to break. It runs deep. And even when the INFJ is doing well, they often feel like they could be doing more. That pressure never fully goes away. The silent self-criticism of the INFJ is one of the hardest things to spot from the outside. But it's there. It shapes how they think, how they act, and how they feel about themselves. And because they rarely talk about it, it often goes unnoticed, even by them. Thing number 6, their intuition feels supernatural. Even to them, NFJs are known for their intuition. It's one of their strongest traits, and it often feels more like a superpower than a personality function. Without needing all the facts, INFJs can sense when something is off, predict how situations will unfold, or just know what someone is feeling. What makes it chilling is that they often can't explain how they know. It just hits them out of nowhere. This type of knowing comes from their dominant function called introverted intuition. It works in the background, collecting patterns, symbols, emotional signals, and small details that other people might not notice. Over time, all that information adds up in their subconscious. Then one day, it clicks. They don't know why, but they're sure of something, and most of the time, they're right. For example, an INFJ might meet someone and instantly feel like something isn't quite right. There's no proof. No reason. But weeks later, something happens that confirms their feeling. Or they might sense that a friend is upset, even if that friend says nothing. The INFJ picks up on tiny changes in voice tone, body language, or energy, and suddenly, they just know what's wrong. Even INFJs find this eerie. Many of them have said they don't understand how it works. They just get sudden downloads of insight. Some INFJs have even described it as feeling psychic. It's not magic, it's just the power of their mind working behind the scenes. The chilling part is how often they're right. And when they are, it can make others uncomfortable. People might feel like the INFJ is reading their mind or predicting the future. It's not that they're trying to be spooky, it's just how their brain works. But the effect can still be unsettling. This kind of insight can also be a burden. INFJs often see the ending before the beginning. They can feel that a relationship won't last, that a job won't work out, or that someone is hiding something. And because they can't explain why they know, they often stay quiet. That silence builds tension inside them, and sometimes they end up feeling disconnected from people who don't understand their instincts. Over time, this sense of always knowing can leave them feeling isolated. It's hard to explain to someone why you're walking away from a situation when nothing seems wrong on the surface. But INFJs trust their gut, and their gut is rarely wrong. This deep intuition is one of the most fascinating traits of the INFJ. But it's also one of the most chilling. It creates a quiet power that works in the background, guiding their actions, shaping their choices, and influencing the people around them. And the strange part, even they don't always understand how or why it happens. Now that we've looked at these 6 chilling behaviors, one thing is clear. The INFJ is not just a quiet or nice person. There's so much more happening under the surface, layers of emotion, intuition, and unconscious patterns that even they don't always understand. From the outside, these behaviors might look confusing or even cold. Suddenly cutting people out, seeming to control others while trying to help, swinging between extremes of energy, snapping into impulsive behavior when overwhelmed, holding silent, harsh self-judgments, and sensing things with a kind of eerie accuracy. But for the INFJ, none of this is done with bad intent. It's all part of how they move through the world, deeply, quietly, and often invisibly. What makes these behaviors chilling is not that they are evil or dangerous. It's that they are hidden. They happen behind the INFJ's calm face, in a world of private thoughts and unspoken emotions. And because INFJs often don't express what they're feeling, these patterns go unnoticed until something breaks. But there's another side to this story. These same behaviors that can feel eerie also come from the INFJ's biggest strengths. Their ability to see patterns helps them protect others. Their emotional depth allows them to truly connect with people. Even their self-criticism pushes them to be better, to grow, and to stay grounded in their values. If you're an INFJ, these patterns don't make you broken or strange. They just mean you need to understand yourself better and give yourself space to breathe. And if you know someone who's an INFJ, don't be fooled by the quiet surface. There's a storm of emotion, insight, and instinct just beneath. Thanks for watching. If you connected with any of these points, or if you've seen these patterns in your own life or someone else's, share your thoughts below. The INFJ mind is one of the most mysterious and powerful in the world, and the more we understand it, the less chilling it becomes.